Alright, I have been going on and on about how good Acts 2 and AD&D 1E Dungeon Master's Guide are, and how many of the procedures outlined there can be adapted to GURPS to allow one to run a BroSR style game. I did a lot of work and now it's time to give it a shot. I'm going to run a solo GURPS game to show off all the procedures and tools that exist and that have been made for this specifically. The goal is not only to demonstrate the procedures, but also to find out what tools are missing, so I can make some new ones. I'll also be using one-to-one timekeeping with each real-world day corresponding to an in-game day. For starters, I'll need the following: the setting and the characters. Of course, I'm going to run the game in my own setting that is intentionally left undetailed in most places, just so one could explore it in more detail by zooming in during the actual game. Since I would like to demonstrate such varied things as wilderness exploration, dungeon delving, and hopefully domain management and mass combat, I should choose a region that would support all that. I decided to set the game in the nation of Ankumat, somewhere close to its southern border. The nation is modeled after ancient Egypt, so it has influential priesthood, slavery, immense construction projects, pharaohs, and all that stuff. It borders a hostile nation of Sebekia populated by crocodilians and ruled by a manifested evil god, the dwarven nation of Amost Kadol, built amongst the ruins of a long-gone state of eldritch giants, and a region called the Serpent Realms, where hundreds of small kingdoms and city-states of various reptilian races fight one another and pester their neighbors. Looks like a perfect place for all my goals, as this place should be full of conflict and opportunities to do stuff. As for the characters, I'll generate them randomly. But how do I do that? Easy. To see how many characters there will be in the party and what their classes are, I will refer to NPC parties. That's page 259 of Acts 2 Judge Journal. First, I roll 1d4 plus 2 to get the party size. I get 4, classic. Then I roll 2d100 4 times on the NPC class table on the same page, and I get the following results: Priestess, Fighter, Blade Dancer, and Explorer. But those are axe classes, aren't they? I will use the closest thematically appropriate D&D equivalents. The Priestess will be a Cleric, the Fighter will be a Fighter, the Explorer will be a Ranger. The Blade Dancer, however, sounds like something that doesn't have an equivalent. But if we look at the pharaonic pantheon, we will see Enor, a god of war, whose priesthood is known for martial prowess. Doesn't that seem perfect? I think this is the most appropriate regional equivalent. I have a set of tables to generate random fighter characters, but nothing for rangers and clerics. Thus, I'll have to make them before continuing. Since I'm writing this in the future, the tables are done. They are rather bare bones, but still functional enough for what I'm doing. So let's create the characters. Alright, let's take a look at the characters. First we have the fighter, Setek Rakhom, who is a male fighter only 18 years old and who is a manlet. I rolled decent enough stats: 13 strength, 11 dexterity, 12 health, but only 9 intelligence. So he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. As far as the advantages and skills go, he's got combat reflexes, that's a must for fighters, overconfidence, rapid healing, stubbornness, vow never refuse a challenge to combat, and talent born sailor too. So I managed to roll this talent twice, and that's an 1d27 table or something like that. So I got lucky, I guess. Skills, he got axe mace at 13, carousing, climbing at 10, actually at 12, but it's modified by encumbrance. What is funny that this is another skill that I rolled twice. Diplomacy, Knife, shield, stage combat, streetwise, sumo wrestling, tactics, teaching, thrown weapon, axe, mace. Uh, we got a lot of IQ based skills with a poor IQ value, so that's not very good, but we have some potential to grow. The gear is a normal axe, a backpack with some basic adventurer stuff. That's the basic Delver kit from Dungeon Fantasy loadouts. Leather boots, padded leg armor, 2 hatchets, jack of plates arm armor, jack of plates torso armor, large knife, medium shield, a light one, and a scale pot helm. You know, this character ended up being one of the weakest in terms of point value, and the random rolls kind of gave me some not good talents for this situation, and not very good skills. I mean, background skills. The combat skills are actually pretty good, but I think I would actually enjoy playing this character a lot in a more conventional game. And due to the talent, there is some. I guess we have a direction of growth. I guess we can develop this character to be a sailor, and maybe even try out the seafaring procedures. The next character is Cat, who is a ranger. He was older and taller than the previous one. I kind of ignored the hair eyes thing. That's not very appropriate hair and eye color. So I rolled some very good stats. See, 11 strength, 12 dexterity, 12 intelligence, 13 health. Look at that, 172 points. The characters are very uneven in terms of points, but I do not care. Not at all. This guy got, I believe, the archer kit. He has a regular bow and a small knife and short sword. As far as disadvantages go, he has greed, honesty, no sense of humor, rapid healing, talent stalker, and talent outdoorsman too. Pretty good talents for rangers. Despite being a quote-unquote low-level character, he has bow 15. That's insane. Camouflage 16. As for the other skills, he has bolas, armory, fast draw both for arrow and sword, first aid, jumping, knife, navigation, land observation, riding, short sword 12, stealth 12, tracking 16, traps 12, weather sense 11, and some quite poor armor, padded cloth. But this is actually a good character, despite being a random one. Next up we have Aru, who is a priestess, a female priestess of Seker. That's a pharaonic neutral good god of glory, good, and zeal. Something of an anti-undead deity. The stats are decent. Strength 12, dexterity 10, 13 intelligence, she is very smart, and 10 health. She got the fighter cleric kit, so she has a mace, shield, and pretty decent armor. Padded cloth, leg armor, leather boots, hardened leather pot helm, and scale torso armor. She is selfless. She has an academic talent that gives bonus to public speaking, research, speed reading, teaching, and writing. Truthfulness and vow of silence during daylight hours. Uh, what about the other ones? Yes, also intolerance to opposing religions. Both of these two advantages are packed disadvantages for the spells. She also got some extra languages. Celestial, spoken accented. She rolled randomly language talent, and she also knows Radiant Draconic. She has religious rank 1, clerical investments. She's ugly. Well, that's unfortunate. And the only spell that she's got is Remove Curse, which is actually a good spell. The skills are okay. She's got two specialties of alchemy, dark and metallic. Axe Mace at 11, hiking, meditation, observation, panhandling, public speaking, religious ritual, and theology at 14 and 15 respectively. They are Pantheon-wide specialties. They are hard skills. Savoir-faire, high society, scrounging, and shield. So she can fight okay. She deals okay damage. Well, actually deals pretty good damage. Um, but she's ugly. Now then we have Nefera, who is another priestess. She's a battle priestess of Anor, chaotic good deity of war. She has the same kit, the same armor and gear, but her spells and skills are different. Also, due to having only 10 strength, I had to replace mace with a small mace, because she was not meeting the strength requirement. She has 11 dexterity, 12 intelligence, and 12 health, which is pretty good. However, due to strength 10, she is in heavy encumbrance, which is not good. She has truthfulness, eidetic memory, fearlessness 2, clerical talent, disciplines of faith, mysticism, and the only spell she wrote is Ease of Breath. That's a buff spell that gives you the filter lungs advantage. That's not a disadvantage. And it actually may be useful in this environment, with all the toxic jungle stuff and all that. She also has two specialties of alchemy, metallic and organic. Organic is the default specialty. Axe Mace 12, expert skill Hoplology, that's the study of combat. She can identify weapons and combat styles. Hiking, occultism, public speaking, religious ritual, and theology limited to a single deity. Surge, shield, stealth at 8, and writing. So that's, as you can see, we do not really have anything like a rogue or a thief or an arcane spellcaster, but Cat, our ranger, can do some roguish stuff like disarming traps and all that good stuff. So I think we'll be fine. After all, we can hire mercenaries, henchmen, allies, and all that stuff. So we'll be good. Now that I have a party of characters, I have to define the environment. As I said before, to have as many opportunities for exploration and conflict as possible, I'll set the action near the border of a chaotic and hostile land. But what about the specifics, such as terrain and settlements? This is where I have to decide on the size of a hex on my map. Since, of course, GURPS doesn't have any exploration procedures, there is no set hex size. AD&D 1E suggests 1 mile hexes, while Axe 2 suggests 6 mile hexes. I would like to use random encounter procedures from Axe, but on the other hand I also want to use terrain generation and inhabitation rules from AD&D. Thus I'll use 1 mile hexes, but we'll have to adapt the encounter procedures to use 6 mile quasi hexes, or just overlay a 6 mile hex grid over the 1 mile hex grid. Alright, let's take a look at the environment. I I plan to use Appendix B from AD&D 1E Dungeon Master's Guide to define terrain, but then I changed my mind a little bit. I decided to place some random arbitrary terrain tiles in the starting area to have a small town of Armagh that will be our safe base with a road leading to the civilization. And there will be a coastline for the sea, some already known terrain. These forest tiles are jungles. Yes, I made my own tile set for this. Some scrublands, some plains, and the rest, green of this hue, is completely unexplored. That's terra incognita. I will use Appendix B for that. I will roll terrain as we go, as we explore this area, and I will place other towns, ruins, dungeons, layers, and all that as we go, because random encounters, they help build the world. I'll use random encounters a lot. And for now, for this introductory video, I think that's enough. I'll come back to this later, probably next week, because this week is going to be very busy. And we'll actually do stuff. We'll go out into the wild, we'll buy supplies first, and I'll walk you through the exploration procedure step by step, and we'll see how it all works. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time.